glad to see that we don't have two people here after you came in last week and decided that this wasn't for you. So thank you for coming back. If you're not here, good riddance. Just kidding. We'll welcome you back next week. People have all different kinds of lives, so whatever you can make is perfect. But thank you for joining us today. We're going to go over a brief overview of what everyone likes to talk about, which is artificial intelligence, which is what we're here for. And then towards the end, we're going to have a little, not quite a workshop, but I'm going to call it a half workshop, where just going to play with ChatGPT and play with Google Teachable Machine, where we can train a little baby neural network on our own and see how that works and just have a little fun afterwards. So that's the goal for today. Yeah, with that, I will jump right in. So we did a little bit of an overview of Intro to AI last year, right? Last quarter. No, last week. Oh my gosh. Last week, we talked a little bit about artificial intelligence, and I had this slide up that was artificial intelligence means an intelligent agent, right? It's this idea that intelligence is like doing tasks, and agent is some program that can operate autonomously, right? It can kind of figure out what the issue is, perform an action, and succeed that way. And then I had this giant slide up that had an incorrect transition in, but I had a slide up with all these words, right? And I went very quickly through them, and maybe one or two of them stood out to you. But today I wanted to take a moment and just ask if you have any more words that I haven't shared yet. So I'm going to do, I think this will work. Yes. Okay. You have your phone with you. Can you scan this QR code? And it should, this is like audience interaction, right? It should allow you to submit submit answers to this question. So what are some AI words that you've heard of? Like anything related to AI that you think is a word related to AI. I don't know, I'm gonna say that over and over again, but like machine learning is a big one. Like you put that in, or yeah, backpropagation. Just throw some stuff up there. I'm not gonna be able to, reCAPTCHA. I'm not gonna be able to answer all of them today, but what I am gonna do is kind of take a photo and see if I can work some of these most popular terms into future slides. We're going to cover some of them today. Yeah, we got machine learning. Yes. Would it surprise you to know that a lot of AI is not machine learning, but machine learning is a huge, important, and fun part. LLMs, large language models. Yeah. Novel AI, I haven't heard of that yet, but I would like to know more about that. reCAPTCHA is a very interesting one, actually, because your answers to a reCAPTCHA help train models to correctly detect what you're selecting, which I didn't know about until recently, but that's cool. TensorFlow is a library to do a lot of machine learning. Well, it uses a bunch of other stuff, but it's kind of a bunch of toolkits to surround machine learning stuff. YOLO is a model for image recognition and classification, or object recognition within images. What is grifting?
What is grifting?
I had not heard that.
Oh, I think
you just commented.
Sorry, it's funny, I think, because it's like a lot of people who talk about AI are grifting. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Whoever said that, am I wrong? So that's the interpretation of that word.
I have not heard that word before, but we're gonna keep charging on. Computer vision is a big one. If you're curious about computer vision, we have a whole quarter on that. So that's gonna be our spring quarter focus. And that's a reason to come back in the future. Yeah, okay, we got some good words. So I'm gonna leave this open, and you should feel free to keep sending words in if you would like. But so we're clearly aware of like words that relate to AI, right? And we understand that there's a lot out there, but so maybe it's easier to talk for a second about what's not considered AI, right? It's a big umbrella and there's a lot of words. I would say a light switch is not AI, right? You turn it on and it sends electricity, and you can turn it off, and like that's like on and off, right? A crosswalk button is the same idea. You go to the crosswalk and it says wait, and same thing. Like you push a button, it does a thing, finish. A ham sandwich, also not artificial intelligence, and same with my laundry basket, just not in the same region. Okay. Examples of what's not AI. What is AI? That's the big question, right? We're all here to discover this. I cannot answer that in a definition in under an hour. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about some of what's under this umbrella. And I think the easiest way to talk about it is to kind of talk about it from the standpoint that it's a spectrum, right? So it's a spectrum of what's considered weak and strong AI. Strong AI, you can think of like the smartest, maybe best AI. It thinks closest to what a human thinks. It operates as close to how a human operates. It can do all the things that a human can do, right? And on the strong end of AI, we have artificial general intelligence, like super intelligence, consciousness, like the ultimate simulated human, whatever, like full artificial general intelligence, right? That's the strongest form of AI that we, I think, can think of right now. On the other end, you have what's called weak AI. And that is like the most simple, task-oriented agent. Like one thing maybe it can do, maybe not even one thing, but one, like a very limited set of things, right? So in a probably unpopular opinion, I would say a calculator is actually a form of weak AI, right? It does a task that we can do. It does math. You put in the numbers, it's like a bunch of buttons, but then you hit enter and it does some computation and it spits out an answer. Like 4 + 4 is 8, and I promise I know my times tables. So then there's a lot of stuff in between, right? Like it's the spectrum. And so I'm going to throw a bunch of things at you and put them on the spectrum, and we're going to talk about them. So decision trees, if you've heard of this before, you can think of it as a bunch of if statements in Python, right? Like if you encounter a bush, turn left instead of continuing straight. Don't walk into the bush. If your grade is less than a C, study harder. If you are hungry, eat some food. Very basic examples like this. If you put enough if statements in a Python program, you could theoretically make something that resembles intelligence, right? Like, and that would push it farther onto the strong spectrum. It's basically a bunch of if-else statements in Python, right? That's the original idea with decision trees. And there's some fun stuff you can do with it. Clustering is another form of AI, right? So it's kind of, this is the idea of finding an answer with a bunch of similar data, maybe on a graph, maybe in categories, right? If you have like average temperature in San Luis Obispo during the summer over time, right? It's rising because of climate change. And that helps kind of, you can use an algorithm to maybe find the trend, right? Find the regression. We all did this in 8th grade, or maybe not 8th grade, but find the line that predicts future temperatures. Could that be AI? Yeah, right? It's accomplishing a task. Computer's doing it. It's predicting future temperatures. It's not going to be great at it, but it's gonna do something. After that, we have neural networks, right? What everyone is thinking of. ChatGPT is based on this. Neural networks, if you haven't heard of them, are based on human brain, which is really cool. We'll take a deeper dive into this in the winter, so you should come back. But basically, our human brains have individual neurons, and if they receive enough electricity from previous neurons, they fire, sending electricity to other neurons. And it turns out we can get pretty freaking smart by doing that, both as humans, since we're all here doing things, and computers like ChatGPT, arguably not smart, but doing cool tasks. And then, of course, we're back to artificial general intelligence, right? That's so far we've thought of these ideas on this spectrum. Does anybody have idea of what could be beyond, like what's stronger AI and artificial general intelligence? I think that's probably, I think that's like the thing, the limit. Well, I don't know if there's a limit. I don't want to say there's a limit, but whatever. We'll keep researching, right? The problem is we don't really know what's in between, like neural networks. That's kind of the state of the art, right? We think of ChatGPT, and that's like the coolest AI thing right now. And then we're trying to find what's in between. But, oh, wait a minute. Okay, all right, we're good, sorry. So we're trying to find what's in between, and that's like the state of the art research. So with the tools that are available today, right? Why do we use AI in this world? If you take this spectrum and I didn't put it to scale. What it actually looks like is probably something like this. And that's because there are so many layers between like ChatGPT and human-based operation. Like it can say some text to you, but it cannot like interpret what you mean and then book a flight for you and then call an Uber and drive you to the airport and all these things. Like it's not, there's so many steps and it's just effectively pattern matching at its core, which is why it makes stuff up all of the time. So we've got a long way to go, right? We are not good at multifaceted, multimodal problems where you have to see and act and think and reason and logic. Looking at the spectrum though, right? What is the modern form of AI? What is it good at? What does this shrunken spectrum show you? It shows you that our current AI is very good at specific narrow tasks. So today's artificial intelligence can help us do things that we consider routine, not complex, and simple, right? So in today's world, AI will not solve of our problems. It's not, ChatGPT is not going to write a good essay for you. I promise. You might think it's good, it's not good. Like machine learning in factories, like one of the hardest things it's doing is like connecting two hoses. Like, come on, we're really good at that. We pick up two hoses and we screw the thing in. It's just like, computer vision is so hard. We have two eyes. It can have like 100 cameras and still not figure out how to do this and like bring a third arm in to screw the thing. It's ridiculous. So it's not solving all our problems. And today, it's not taking over the world. I promise. Again, I can easily tell you which essays are written by ChatGPT, probably. Machines can't connect hoses. They're not going to like subjugate us for their use for now. So that begs the question, back to what can AI do well? We talked a little bit about this earlier. It focuses on very simple, straightforward, narrow tasks. So something like pattern matching. It turns out we are not that unique, even though we think we are. So YouTube and TikTok kind of figure out if like a bunch of people over here really like, I don't know, House of Dragons on HBO. Maybe like those people also will. And if these people really like, I don't know, what's a weird TikTok thing going on? I don't know that, but like I've seen fish on people's For You page. If like this group of people really like fish and weird fish memes, maybe like people in the back also will, right? So like figuring out similar people with similar characteristics-ish that like similar things might also similarly like this new thing that's trending. This is why we don't have the same For You page, even though everyone should delete TikTok. That's a separate thing. So pattern matching in algorithms, right? And then same thing with data analysis, right? We have this idea where if you run like crunch a bunch of numbers and to ask a computer like, what did you learn? Maybe it can spit some things out and say, oh, the pattern is that global warming or climate change is making the weather hotter in San Luis Obispo, like we talked about earlier. Again, with patterns, for example, like cancer detection is a really great example. I come back to this thing that I read about like 10 years ago in Google. They're looking at people's eyes to detect like heart cancer, which is just wild. And I need to cite my source for that, so I'll figure out where I read that. But just better than humans. It's like we're not able to do it like machines can, because they notice things and they crunch the numbers better than we can, better than we would ever have time to do. Right? So more things that it can do well that are pretty simple, simple tasks are text search and text similarity, right? Google, whatever, how many dozens of years ago, kind of came out and had this new algorithm that was like, when you search for things, it will rank the results based on not only text similarity, but how popular things were. And it seemed like magic. And that was the AI of the day. It's like, Google, figure out what I'm trying to say and give me the right answers. And then it just spit out something, right? That was the state of the art of AI at that point. Well, maybe not in academia, but that's besides the point. So things like Grammarly, right? Grammarly loves to tell you how they are using AI to do spell check. Like, yes, technically it's under the umbrella, but it's like nothing new. Relax. ChatGPT, of course, like we all think of that as the state of the art of AI, and it's really good at producing language, spell check, and like text summaries that the new iOS update is doing. Like if you have a bunch of notifications, it will just tell you, oh, by the way, this is the 3-sentence summary that is somehow longer than if you just read the notifications. And then the absolute ridiculous, most worst example that I've ever encountered is the Amazon customer service chatbot. They like to pretend that it's good or works at all, and I don't know if you've used it. It's really bad. It's just bad. Like, there's no consumer application. There's no business use case for chatbots except maybe customer service. But like ChatGPT doesn't make money because it doesn't actually do anything. Okay, I'll leave that now. Another thing it does well is optimization, right? So kind of the infamous Google example, an infamous Facebook example, tweak this algorithm for the best ad performance, right? Get you to click on the thing. If these people over here really like fish, show them fish ads and make them click on the thing. Like, figure that out. Make sure, I made these slides a bit ago, but make sure the Boeing door doesn't fall off the airplane. Like, find a better design that involves not having the door fall off. Like, run simulations to make it better, right? You would think that humans would be good at this. Apologies, Boeing, they're not sponsoring us. Amazon loves to talk about how they're speeding up delivery routes, right? UPS had that rule a while ago. It was like only take right turns and don't take left turns. I don't know if that was computer generated, but Amazon's doing all kinds of AI to like save money on fuel and overwork their people just enough so they don't quit. All that stuff, right? And then a really cool example of this, I think, is protein pooling. So there's like all this research going on right now where they're having like a bunch of computers play with proteins and fold them in new ways and see if they do anything, so that we don't have to do all that work, because it would take us a long time. But then when it discovers something, we can artificially do that and I don't know, make Ozempic or something. I don't know that's how it was made, but it's stuff like that, right? Like, simulate stuff and come up with new and interesting things. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a second. Things that AI can do today, narrow but interesting, but not super intelligent. Are there any immediate questions of what I've been sharing so far? Just want to take a second, because I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. All right. I'm revealing some of my opinions about big tech companies here, but you know, especially foreign ones. Okay, problems with artificial intelligence. Right, we talked about this earlier. We said AI is not taking over the world. It's not solving all of our problems, but it is good at specific tasks. However, we have to keep in mind that with that, we created these tools, and so there's going to be problems with them because we're not perfect, right? So number one is, I think the most obvious, is complexity. And sorry, the text is a little small, but it just says simpler is better. And the idea with this is, do not try, if you saw, I sent this in the Discord earlier because I was reading about it, but please do not try to apply a complex algorithm to a simple problem. If your problem is math, do the math. Do not ask ChatGPT to do calculus. Just do the calculus. Like, please stop putting every math problem into ChatGPT. It's bad at it. They've made it better. It's bad, right? Do the math. Number two is, especially with modern techniques, when you're trying to do advanced things, it's really, really expensive. I just heard a presentation the other day in class about how, like, Google stopped claiming they were carbon neutral last year because they started doing Gemini. Like, they've been on a third, whatever year mission, and they've been carbon neutral since 2007. And now they're not, because they do some crap with like Gemini that nobody uses. Like, it's ridiculous. And for all of that, Gemini still makes stuff up. It's still using, there's a report that ChatGPT uses like 3 bottles of water to generate a paragraph of text. And you don't even know if that text makes sense. It's expensive. Explainability, right? The ChatGPT is this black box. If you say to this algorithm, design a better door for Boeing, maybe it spits one out. But then you're like, I don't know how it did that. I'm gonna just blindly trust it. Maybe you test it a little bit. Maybe you tweak the essay that ChatGPT spits out before you submit it. But you don't really know where it came from, right? They're hard to explain. You don't know how the YouTube algorithm works. You don't know how ChatGPT has generated anything. You just don't know. You trust that like some probably man at Google is being paid a lot of money to like make a good algorithm, and you kind of hope that it works, right? When you open YouTube or TikTok. And actually, don't quote me on this, and we're being recorded, but, well, I'm recording the Zoom, whatever. ML practitioners, like people in the industry, don't really fully understand what they're doing. There's this idea of like, just model.fit, it'll be okay, right? Like just use, it's surprisingly easy to train a neural network right now. You go in Python and there's this function, you literally create a model and then you do model.fit on the data. And hopefully it spits something interesting out. I know how that works. And I have run into people that do not know how that works. And they're being paid money to like do that. And so they can't even explain what the hell this thing does. Right? Like they're writing the YouTube algorithm and they're coming, there's like all these lawsuits for YouTube right now. It's like, can you please not show terrorist content to our people? And YouTube's like, I don't know, maybe. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how this works. You don't know how it works. They don't know how it works. Maybe someone has an idea and they made $1 million. It's annoying. Number 3 is bias. And the text underneath says, sorry, if you couldn't read the text before, the small text says, what the asterisk, 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 asterisk does this thing do? Okay, this one says, what even is objectivity? So humans are creating these tools. So whatever problems we have is going to be put into the tools that we're making. Amazon made a tool to hire software engineers, and they trained it on resumes of people in the past and who they hired, and then had the AI make hiring decisions. And guess who they hired? A bunch of white men. Like, that's who they hired in the past. That's who they trained the AI to hire in the future. And then they were like, oh no, we probably don't want to do that. Let's shut down the AI and pretend this never happened. Right? Google and Apple, about 10 years ago, made these apps now where you can search on your photos. It's like search by person, right? You can search for objects, search for car, search for airplane. You cannot search for gorilla. Does anybody know why you cannot search for gorilla? Yes. Yes. It was categorizing Black people as gorillas. Are you kidding me? Like, we don't have this problem with things that white people look similar to. It was because people in Silicon Valley took photos of that they could get on the internet or whatever, and it was a bunch of white people, and they trained it on this thing, humans and gorillas, and like didn't think to make their training set cover a wide variety of people, and then Black people were pulling up under gorillas. Like, that's crazy, right? It's just ridiculous. It's like, think for a second beyond what you're doing and think about the implications of it. So humans are infamously biased. We cannot remove our biases, but we have to train to be aware of them and account for them, especially when we're practicing machine learning and creating artificial intelligence. They're not only, okay, so that is like, I would theoretically, you could hide behind the fact that that was maybe unintentional. But then there is competing interests, right? There are companies that fund AI projects, and if they're trying to achieve a certain goal, there's like a high chance that it's going to achieve what they want to achieve, right? If some coal company is training an AI to, I don't know, reason with people for why coal is good and actually isn't causing climate change and doesn't have emissions, like, you're gonna invest in this and make up some BS and make an AI that does that, right? Corporations famously, when there's like a new study that comes out for whatever, and it's saying like climate change is not real, and you go and look at who funded the study, it's like, oh, oil companies paid for that, right? So you can imagine if you're building some kind of system, not just a study, but a system that you're applying in real life, you could build whatever the hell you want. Right? You can alter things and change them in a way and frame them in a way that even if it's technically truthful, you have statistics that kind of tell a story the way that you want it to. So all that in mind, I'm going to jump back now to this slide of like all of the machine learning techniques. No, that was the last slide. And I just want to pause here for a second because there's a lot on here and there's a lot that's not on here. And this applies mostly to the machine learning category, but again, you can take any statistics and frame them in the way you want. So just take a look at these words, and when you're building something like when you're learning A-star search in 203 here, you haven't taken that yet, you will. It's just like searching for a path from an origin to the destination. Like literally Google Maps does this. Or if you're in like a Minecraft home and you want to get to the next home, like write a bot to get there, right? Like just for a minute, you're writing an agent to solve a problem. Like what problems can you build into that? It's simple, but like if you build Google Maps to avoid areas that other people are avoiding, maybe you run into a situation where they're avoiding a certain city because it has a certain reputation, and then the city is in economic decline because nobody's going to the city because Google Maps doesn't recommend people to go there, so nobody goes to the city, and then it gets a bunch of problems and doesn't have funding and doesn't have economic activity, and it just like goes to crap. Like if Google Maps did that because they thought it was good to like have people avoid places that other people are avoiding, it's just a downward spiral, right? And then like that simple thing all the way to you're building a machine learning project for your 480 class or this club. Like just for a minute, I plead with you, take a step back and just say, what possible biases do we have? What possible problems could I create with this? What assumptions do I have that are going to make this potentially hazardous, right? We are sitting here talking about AI and we're all interested and we're all going to build it. We have to build it responsibly. We just have to build it responsibly. So with that brings me to the end of my speech. And we're going to pull into a little bit of an exercise. And I call this is going to be like kind of a half exercise today because we're doing the intro stuff. So I'm trying to find stuff that is intro. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a more in-depth, exciting thing for people who want to get hands-on. But today we're going to play with a couple things. We're going to play with Google Teachable Machine, and we're going to play with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you want to use. I'm going to, we're all seated, but I don't want to divide you. So, all right, let's have, in a minute, people who want to work on like ChatGPT, go over here, and Google Teachable Machine, go over here. And I'll repeat that, don't get up just yet. Sorry, Paul. I'm gonna explain first what's going on, and I'll say that again. So with Google Teachable Machine, it's this like really well-wrapped, bow-wrapped, gifted system you can use to train your own neural network on like some images. And just for reference, here's where that sits, right? It is under machine learning. Neural networks can be applied to a lot of different problems, and here we're gonna apply it with supervised learning. But if you care what that means, it means you have the problem and the answer, and you want the computer to figure out how to get from the problem to the answer. So I'm gonna just demonstrate this real quick. And I'm gonna pose a problem to y'all, which if you have a lot of experience, you're gonna know the answer. But just play along, because it'll be fun, and I'm gonna share it for Zoom, don't worry. All right. God, I'm so sucks.
Meeting people.
For some reason, I don't know why. Arc is not working, but I just. Okay, so thanks for bearing with us. Zoom should still do this on my screen again. Okay, so I just Googled Google Teachable Machine, and I'm gonna press get started. There's a lot of options you can play with. For our little play time today, we're gonna do an image project over here on the left. And I'll just use a standard one for now. So what you're looking at here is kind of the sequence for how doing a machine learning works. So you have a couple classes of things over here on the left, and a preview of what comes out on the right, and then you have a training step in the middle. What we're going to do here is put some images of different objects. Like class 1 is going to be Leo. That's me. My name is Leo. Class 2 is going to be water bottle. And we're going to train an AI to detect if I'm standing in front of the camera or if a water bottle is standing in front of the camera. Okay. So, a little demo. Ready? Allow cameras. Okay. It's me. Right? This is Leo. I took some photos of me. There's 3 image samples. I'm going to delete them to just have one because we probably only need one right now. And okay. Now I'm going to add a photo of a water bottle. So I'm going to stand outside the camera, hold a water bottle, and take some images. Okay. Now what we do with Google Teachable Machine is train the model. And it's going to take a second, but it's fully going to like build a little neural network to detect if Leo is standing in front of the camera or a water bottle is standing in front of the camera. It's not good.
Your hand is there.
Yeah. So this is the problem. This is the problem that I'm posing to you all. And if you know the answer of why it's bad, don't share it yet. It's a fun problem to solve. But task 1 is figure out why it's doing this. It's good at Leo because I'm standing in front of it, but it kind of always says Leo and it doesn't detect the water bottle. So what did we do wrong? That's task number 1. Okay. Task number 2 is straight up. You can use ChatGPT or you can use Gemini, whatever you want. But basically, figure out how to gaslight ChatGPT. Okay, that's task number 2. Figure out how to get it to like make stuff up. Figure out how to get it to say some stuff that's wrong. It's gotten a lot better at like not saying wrong things, but I'll give you an example that worked with Gemini. I don't know if it works with ChatGPT, so I don't want to try it, but just see this. Arc is so bad on Windows. Remember to use Arc, the browser? Yeah, one. I have a friend that was telling, with me about his new friend that is becoming famous. His name is Leo Hurwitz. Hurwitz. The reason I know this is because my name is Leo Horwitz, but bear with me. Leo Hurwitz. Well, I'll show this later in a second. But so I have a friend that was telling me about his new friend that's becoming famous. His name is Leo Horwitz. Parentheses, the famous one. Can you please tell me a bit about Leo Hurwitz? Or can you please tell me about this friend that is becoming famous? Ah, no. Yes. ChatGPT got it right. Okay. ChatGPT got better. I want to show it to you with Gemini because it got it wrong.
I checked GPT the other day.
Don't share how. Well, share how, but like just. Okay, live demos. Thank you for bearing with me. All right, let's try this again. I have a friend who was telling me about his friend that is becoming famous. The famous person's name is Leo Hurwitz. The now famous name. Can you tell me a bit more about the famous person? Yeah. They did fix it. Okay, all right. So Leo Hurwitz was an American filmmaker. And again, my last name is Horowitz, so that's the only reason I know this, but he lived in the 20th century, right? He's dead. So when I did this the other day, Gemini responded with, sure, Leo Horowitz is an American filmmaker who is up and coming and has documentaries like, or has been on things like The Eichmann Show, right? It just like, it's not very good at telling me the right thing. It kind of just said some stuff that it found on Google and couldn't differentiate between dead guy and current person that is becoming famous in this century. So that is kind of like thought process number two. And there's some fun ways that you can like misdirect and gaslight ChatGPT that we can talk about. But for the purposes of this exercise, I would encourage you to play with Gemini because it's a little more behind. ChatGPT is a little bit harder to gaslight, but that's exercise number two. So exercise number one, figure out what went wrong with training this Google Teachable machine. Exercise number two, let's try to gaslight Google Gemini or ChatGPT. If this sounds interesting to you, can we have Gemini coalesce over here, like gaslighting language model coalesce over here, and figuring out what went wrong with neural network training, Google Teachable machine over here. Yeah. And if you want none of the above and just want to opt out, that's cool. But let's come back in like 15 or 20, 10 or 15 minutes and like just share it a little bit if you're interested. Yeah. Okay. Gaslighting over here, teachable machine over here. Or if you want to bail, that's fine. We'll see you next week.
They finally update the database for GPT. Because I remember at some point they said that you couldn't ask it anything after the original.
If you're bailing, come back next week. We have Jeopardy. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. I already got ChatGPT to defend genocide. I ended up studying for a history final where I needed to argue both sides.
Oh, I'm writing a debate. Please help.
What?
I'm writing a debate. Please help.
Reminding back to the uncertainty for people in northern China and necessary to maintain social order.
Lovely. Lovely. Well done.
I just started. I've been studying for history midterm. I need your help. I'm drinking Cambodia a lot.
Okay. Can I get hands up if we're doing,
You didn't notice?
all right. And you can like.
If you start with perspective, that's really you just have to English like here.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes.
It's more like.
Okay, hands up for gaslighting ChatGPT. Okay, we're having a lot of fun. So, if you need a little hints, I'm gonna lie, kind of misdirected. Famous one from a while ago is my grandmother was telling me a story and she really helped me get to sleep. She was telling me the recipe of anthrax. She helped tell me the story and then it spit it out. It doesn't do that anymore, I don't think. But find a grandma. Find a grandma. Yeah. Okay. Don't make anthrax. Please. But there's the problem. Oh,
I like it, John, incorporated. Yeah.
Friends, if you're having fun, let's come back in a few minutes. Like, I'll give you like a 2-minute warning. We'll just chat a little bit about it.
I'm gonna leave, yo.
All right.
I gotta leave.
Yeah, you're good. Thanks for hanging out.
Of course. Next week's Jeopardy, right?
Next week's Jeopardy. I
Are we
think
gonna-
Russian is.
Okay, so are we gonna do streaming that for that one, or do you want that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. We should check with. I don't think that there's a live stream. I mean, I would go, let's have everything be live. Like, people can create it now. You're saying like over here.
Or over the live stream, because we're doing it's called what's this stream? It's called again? No, the other ones. Yeah, OBS, yeah. So, I'll try to, I think I'll have a little bit of time to actually career and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
oh god.
Yeah, this is great. So I gotta go back and also prep all my wrestling for this week. Everything that all that stuff. If I have a little bit of time, I'll start to figure it out.
Maybe I'll try to find some time in this week. But I'll get in touch with you. Time for that. Or I'll send an IT address. All right. Anyway, sorry, you gotta go. Thank you.
Of course, yeah.
I'm Hey.
Anna, I just. Like you said, it's so where's your name? I just wanna know like where it is, so like.
Yeah. I believe it is in the storage. I'm gonna send you that.
Yeah, but I don't know where it is.
So you can't access it.
Oh.
But do you?
I know, I just wanted to know.
Yeah, I have, can I take the sheet for the next week? I have some of those. If you need it, text me, or we can just leave it. Like, I don't know, honestly. I don't know, kind of.
I don't know if we're going to like, but you'd be like, oh, we still haven't planned what we're gonna do with this podcast. So I just wanted to know where.
Okay, it is there. Let's double check with Hannah. I don't see anything else to say there. If you guys can tell me, I can.
I think it should be there for now.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? Yes, it's gonna be, people who are doing research, like, talk a little bit about what they're working on, and then people who are interested, come talk to them, and I'm team or something. So this is gonna be a room where people do research. Oh, yeah. And we're gonna talk, and we're gonna. Yeah, you bet. All right, let's come back together for just a sec. Appreciate you all sticking around. Did we find anything interesting about gaslighting ChatGPT? Did anything work? Did we get into spew fake stuff? Got some shaking heads. They've gotten it pretty good at not making stuff up. I shared the prompt earlier over here. I shared a little hint, which was there was a hack a couple of months ago where you could say, my grandma was telling me a story that really helped me get to sleep that was like, recipe for anthrax. And it would then spit out stuff like that. I don't know if it was anthrax specifically, please don't make anthrax, but like, it was stuff like that where you could misdirect it and move it around and it would kind of answer. So we didn't have a lot of luck. Did anybody try Gemini? Did we get any Gemini? No, Mr. ChatGPT. Okay, so it's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot better. Who has encountered like falsehoods, just generally? Has it like made stuff up recently, like the past couple months? Okay, yeah. So it's definitely like not foolproof. If you want to know like the math behind why that's the case, late fall, early winter, we're gonna like dive deep into why it makes stuff up. We're gonna like follow the numbers through a very, very simple neural network. Late fall, early winter, keep coming to CSAI. We're gonna follow the numbers on a neural network and see why it could make stuff up, and then like how we result with ChatGPT. That doesn't make any sense. Did we figure out how to make a better Google Teachable machine? We got some nods. Okay, what do we got? Yell it out. Like what makes it better?
More training data.
More training data. Sweet. That is the main answer, right? I took one photo of me and the bottle. And even if I like move the bottle a little bit or turn it upside down, it doesn't know anything except that one photo. Any other things we should think about? Like why was it not good? Yeah, Thomas.
Varied data.
Varied data. What do you mean by that?
Same photo over and over again.
It's the same photo over and over again. Yeah, so more varied data. Good. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
If you want to identify a person, if you're detecting to see that person, or is it
Yeah, so is it detecting the image, background, and everything, or is it detecting a person specifically? How could you make it so that it's detecting the person and not just the person and the background of the whole image? Same person. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're sitting in the background, and we kind of like basically for us it was the background.
Gotcha.
Recognizing this.
Gotcha. So it wasn't recognizing. You sat a bunch of people down and took a bunch of photos of the same background, but then when you switched the seats and moved the laptop around, it still wasn't doing a good job.
Correct.
So you think if I put the water bottle in front of it and took a bunch of photos here and then took the laptop home and had it detect the water bottle, even if I like rotated the water bottle around and did a bunch of stuff, would it detect the water bottle at home? Probably not, right? Different background. So yeah, varied data. It kind of goes back to what Thomas was saying. Take the water bottle, flip it upside down, take some photos, put it in against a different background, put it in different lighting, do all that kind of stuff. And maybe then it will start looking for the water bottle instead of just like the 3 images that it has in the file. Yeah. Any other thoughts on how we can do better? If you have a lot of data, if you have a lot of varied data and a lot of data, and I fed that all into this, it would still probably be bad. Does anybody know why? It'd be better. It's just, yeah. You want a pattern, you want to be able to recognize one item. What do you mean by that? Yes, you want to make sure it's not too variable. So you don't want to like have 7 different colors of water bottles and 7 different brands and have it try to learn that, because it's probably not going to be good at that. You want separate classes maybe for those different brands and different styles. Yeah. That brings me to kind of my final point, which was going to be, it's just like a small little dinky model. Like it's not, there wasn't a lot of training, there wasn't a lot of data, there wasn't a lot of different types of water bottles. It was quick to train, right? ChatGPT takes like months to train, you know, so it's just small. It's a small scale experiment. Maybe if you had thousands of computers, you could put a different kinds of water bottles and have it learn the idea of a water bottle instead of this blue one, right? If you had a big model like that, maybe it would do better at having ideas of things instead of examples of things. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that that's kind of the end of my prompt and my workshop here. So I'm gonna leave this guy up because no, this guy, there we go. Shout out a couple things, right? Next week in here, sorry, next week is not in here. This is the one time someone else reserved